Baylor women's tennis has announced their 2025 spring schedule. I'll break it down how many winning record teams, NCAA tournament teams, and losing record teams are there. All these teams listed here are in Central. I apologize for looking down because I cannot memorize all this stuff. And I'll break down the women's tennis roster once the season gets closer and what the ceiling and the floor is, in my opinion. So just make that clear. January 19th, you got Harvard at home at 11 a.m. Then you got in Austin for ITA kickoff weekend, January 24th and 25th. First one is against BYU. That's a non-con match, and that's a match where Baylor wants to get revenge on because let's be clear, if BYU didn't beat Baylor last year, they would have not made NCAA tournament. First of all, and that was just a weird match. Started outside with 6 outdoor courts. They had to move it inside due to weather. They only had 4 indoor courts, and BYU's just used to those indoor courts, unlike Baylor. And it was a 4-3 match. Just telling the truth. That's what even Zuzana Kabaka told me. And she did say, I'm not making excuses, but that BYU is used to those faster courts inside than us. And it kind of confirmed what I thought anyway about that match. So I'm sure they want to get that match back for those returning players that are back for this team. Now, obviously, I would think if Baylor were to beat BYU, they would play Texas and not Maryland. Let's just be honest. Maryland's the worst team of the bunch. But if Baylor were to lose to BYU again, but this time it's 6 courts going to be played at once in singles and not just 4. So I do think that makes a big difference. And at least BYU wouldn't be so used to those Texas courts as much as Baylor in comparison. Not as much, though it's not like a great advantage, but you get the whole point. BYU's not used to the courts either. At least we're a little bit used to it, but not like a ton used to it. Then you get back-to-back home matches on January 31st and 2nd, and February 2nd. So January 31st, you got Nebraska at noon, and all these times listed here are Central, just to make things faster. February 2nd, we played against Denver the past few years, and that's going to be at 2 p.m. And if Baylor were to go to the National Indoor Tournament, they would scratch off these 2 matches against San Diego State at 2 p.m. Same thing goes for San Diego State. San Diego State is first one at 2 p.m. Then San Diego the next day, on February 9th at noon. And we'll see about San Diego making the ITA kickoff weekend as well. We'll see. If they have to get rid of that match, we'll probably find somebody else to play. And granted, both those schools, I believe, do not have indoor courts. So they gotta hope the weather is good. If those 2 matches get canceled, I have to think Joey Scrivano and staff would find some matches to replace them with and play them down here instead. I would think so. Then you got February 15th on the road to Illinois at 3 p.m. Then you got Brown at home February 17th at 6 p.m. Washington State at home February 21st at noon. Then conference play begins, and Baylor does avoid BYU and Utah. And I think they're fortunate, to be honest, because I do think Baylor gets revenge against BYU both times, especially if they play BYU at home. If it's on the road, that's a different story, because you never know about the weather type of deal. And 4 indoor courts. At least Utah has 6 indoor courts, but that's besides the point here, y'all. I apologize for ranting about that. And Cincinnati at noon, February 28th, and March 2nd, you got West Virginia at home at 1 p.m. Now, March 7th, you got on the road to UCF at 2 p.m. announced. March 9th, you got Houston on the road at 1 p.m. March 14th, you got Colorado home 6 p.m. March 16th, you got Texas Tech at home at 1 p.m. Then you got back-to-back road matches against Iowa State, March 21st at 2 p.m. announced. Same thing goes for Kansas, March 23rd, 2 p.m. announced. Then you got Kansas State at home March 28th at noon. March 30th, you got Oklahoma State, one of the best teams in the conference, if not the best in my opinion, going into the spring at 1 p.m. You got back-to-back road matches again. April 4th and 6th. First is Arizona at 2 p.m. Second is Arizona State on April 6th. at 2 p.m. Then their regular season finale is against TCU at home at 6 p.m. In one of those matches last year, they lost a doubles point, and what it could have gone wrong did go wrong. They lost 4-0. And that's to a team that did not even make the NCAAs last year. It's because of a protest deal by Kansas State on the doubles line. No need to go further into that, but you get the point. If they would have won that match without the protest, then they would have to win another match just to make NCAAs. But honestly, it should not have come down to that for TCU. But that's besides the point. They should have beat somebody else just to make the NCAAs without having to worry about that protest deal. Or beat Kansas State fair and square and win one more match, then you're guaranteed you're in. But that's besides the point here. Big 12 tournament is in Waco this year, April 16th through 19th. Honestly, we do not know the times of that. NCAA first and second rounds, which is campus sites, which if Baylor gets to host the first 2 rounds, it's going to be down here. If not, they're going to have to go on the road somewhere. May 2nd through 4th. I mean, it's 2 matches in 2 days. Then the Sweet 16 match, aka NCAA Super Regional, is May 9th or 10th at the campus sites. Then, of course, the Elite 8 onwards is down here, but we'll see about that. May 15th through 18th, and that's to be announced as well. Now, I will break down the schedule here. Not a lot of losing record teams. 7 of them to be exact. I mean, Brown 10-13 last year. Washington State's 10-12 last year. Of course, they're transitioning over from the Pac to the Mountain West now, because the Pac doesn't have, like, their conference is gone for women's tennis. Practically, just to play more Mountain West this year, but that's beside. I mean WCC, but that's besides the point. Transition year for them, or in the following year as well. Then you got Cincinnati 8-15 last year. UCF was 11-12 last year, but they were better than the records showed. I do think they're going to be better this year, but I don't know how much better. In Houston, it was 2-19 last year, and thus their head coach was gone. And they got a good head coach from Grand Canyon University, and she did bring some of those players over with her. And they even got like a recruit that was committed over there or signed over there and then moved over. I think they're going to be better. I just don't know how much. And Iowa State's got a second-year head coach. They were 4-17 last year, but they were competitive in some matches. Then Kansas was 10-14 last year. I don't know how much better they're going to be. Now, just winning record-wise, obviously, if Baylor even plays Maryland, they were 16-10 last year. That's an if. Nebraska was 14-11 last year. West Virginia was a WNIT semifinal, 15-13. Colorado 14-11 last year. WNIT championship match, runner-up. Kansas State was 12-12, and TCU was 12-9. Obviously, if Baylor were to go to the National Indoor Tournament, they would play 3 more NCAA tournament teams, probably. I just don't know how far, because I cannot predict all this stuff here. It's just a wild guess. But I'm just going to go with the definites, and I'll go over the Oklahoma State situation, and there are no Elite 8 teams that they really technically are going to play against from last year. Though I'll explain why on Oklahoma State in a minute. Harvard 19-5 last year, round of 64. BYU 17-8 last year, round of 64. Texas was 23-6 last year, Sweet 16. That's only if we get to play them at ITA kickoff weekend. If Baylor beats BYU. I mean, that's an if. Texas did have a down year. They did lose. I mean, they were a 9 seed and they lost to 8 seed UCLA. What can you do? It's on the road. Now, Denver 17-7 last year, round of 64. We played them the last few years. San Diego State 16-7 last year, round of 64. San Diego 17-8 last year, round of 32. Illinois 17-10 last year, round of 64. Texas Tech was 20-9 last year, round of 32. Arizona was 17-13 last year, round of 64. Arizona State has a new head coach, and they were 15-10 last year, round of 32. Now, Oklahoma State had a stellar year last year, but they did not make the Elite 8. Why did that happen? I'll go over that Right after, like, the record I'm going to say here, they were 29-1. I will say, though, they did win the doubles point. They did. They lost number 2 doubles 6-3, but they won the other 2 double spots 6-4. So it was a really tight doubles point. But Lucia Pyrie from Oklahoma State medically retired. I am not sure whether or not she even played all fall long. I'm not sure. So, yeah, it's unfortunate right there. Then it's 1-1 because of a default. Now, the next singles match obviously was number 2 singles, and Oklahoma State won that 6-2, 6-3 by Ange Obi Kajuru. Then it is 2-1 Oklahoma State, but then the tide shifted when Oklahoma State Court 6, Christina Novak, who was a Court 1 the year before, who hardly lost last year, she lost a number 6 singles, 6-4, 6-3. And then number 1 singles, it was a blowout for, it was like in terms of score, not that close. Anastasia Komar won the first set 6-2, but Sofia Cavesas won the second set 6-1, and the third set 7-6, 8-6 in a tiebreaker. Just imagine if that would have gone the other way. What would have happened? Well, Ayumi Miyamoto lost the first set 7-6, 7-3 in a tiebreaker, and it was 6-5 in the second set. So who knows what would have happened if number 1 singles went their way. It's one of those weird situations. This is just unfortunate. A medical retirement is one of the differences in the match. But the thing is, you should have not lost on number 6 singles. And number 4 singles did lose for Oklahoma State as well. And she did have like an injury. But then she continued to play, but lost the first set, 6-4, and lost the second set 6-1. So, yeah. Don't lose one of those other single spots besides the medical retirement. You can't do anything about medical retirements. It's more like actually this match was 7-6 in favor of the Oklahoma State player, but you get the whole. But either way, the first set was 7-3 in the tiebreaker, 7-6, 6-5 in the second set. Yeah, that. I just know the score. I just don't know which direction. But obviously that match is still on YouTube, so y'all could check that out. Just one of those crazy matches where a 1 seed lost to a 16. And that hardly has ever happened. Especially when that 1 seed was at home. And that's got to be disappointment. Now they lost half the lineup. I know they got some players, and I would consider them, and some newer ones, and as well as they've returned to top half, I would consider them the best team in the conference, but it's wide open for number 2. Really, it is. And we're fortunate to get Oklahoma State at home this year. Really fortunate. We're going to wait and see what happens. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. See you guys later on the road to 7 subscribers. Course ultimate goal. It's 1,000 more some money after this course. Like a video. Comment video really helps YouTube algorithm so more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well so more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button. Hit the notification bell as well.